Welcome back, everybody. Happy Tuesday. And we are back to the Hebrew alphabet. And we are looking at this week the letter Lamed, which is a very exciting letter. So I'm very, very happy to see you all again. And I hope that you have enjoyed the journey thus far. We have reached the middle point of the Hebrew alphabet. We are on the 12th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Lamed, as I said before. And that is considered to be the heart of the Hebrew alphabet. So the letter Lamed is considered to be the heart of the Hebrew alphabet because it is the central point. So it is a very special letter. An incredibly special letter, actually. I mean, they're all special, but some of them just have an extra specialness to them, in my opinion, anyway. So, Lamed is an incredibly special letter, not only because it is the central letter in the Hebrew alphabet, but it is also the tallest letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And as we've learned so far, having looked at Yot, which is the smallest letter, the size of the letters means just as much often as everything else about the letter. So everything in the Hebrew alphabet is very specific, and there's reasons and all sorts of, representations and symbolisms and everything else and beliefs, Jewish belief systems that actually sit behind each letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which I think is just so incredibly special. So this week we are looking at Lamed. And again, just for those of you who might be watching for the very first time, as I said, this is the 12th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which means there are 11 previous episodes plus the introduction in this series, in this limited series. So if you are watching for the first time, I really would encourage you to go back to the beginning and watch right from the beginning. In the introduction, I just explain a little bit more of why I'm doing this, and also some of the foundation sort of basic understanding so that you know what I'm talking about when I talk about the different letters. And then obviously all the different letters up until now have got such incredible symbolism in them, and they're representative of so much and point so incredibly towards Jesus and God that it just would be sad to miss all of them. And then at the end, I'm going to show you the thread that takes you through the story of the Hebrew alphabet from the beginning to the end. So you will need to have watched all of them to get the full picture of the full story. And they are only sort of 10 minutes each, so it's not a lot of watching to do. So I would encourage you, if this is your first time watching, to go back and watch from the beginning, and then you'll know exactly where we are. So, as I said before, Lamed is the tallest letter in the Hebrew alphabet, plus the central letter, or what they consider to be, what the Jewish people consider to be the heart of the Hebrew alphabet. And it is said to represent Malech HaMalachim. I hope I said that correctly. Malech HaMalachim, the King of Kings. So it is the central letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It is the tallest letter, and thus it is said to represent Malech HaMalachim, the King of Kings, which is so incredible to me because the ancient Hebrew pictograph for the letter Lamed was a shepherd's staff or goad. So isn't it amazing that the letter itself is said to represent the King of Kings, and yet the pictograph or picture associated with is a shepherd's staff? So it just again points to just the facets of God's personality, that he is both the King of Kings and also the shepherd who protects and trains and covers and nurtures and teaches. And those are all words that are kind of included in the meaning of the word Lamed. The classical Hebrew script, in the classical Hebrew script, Lamed is constructed of a kaf with a vav standing on it. And just to always remember that wherever you have a letter which is constructed, with a kaf and a vav, the numbers associated with those letters add up to 26, which is considered to be the number of the letters that add up to the sacred name, which is Yahweh. So Yahweh is just represented in so many different letters of the Hebrew alphabet because of the way each letter is made up of. And in this case, Lamed, it uses the letter Kaf and the letter Vav and makes up the letter Lamed. So it's just a beautiful picture of God. So Some meanings of the letter Lamed are, as I've said before, teach. And when you think of the word teach, think of it speaks to learning and specifically to heart knowledge. So when you think about teach or learn, it's not just head knowledge, it's actually more representative of heart knowledge, also because the letter is the heart of the alphabet. Then it also speaks to yoke, bind, toward, so the shepherd's staff pulling the sheep towards, and then authority, because the shepherd's staff is also a symbol of authority, and the shepherd uses his staff, to bring the sheep in, to grab hold of them and pull them in if necessary. So it is also a symbol of authority. The numeric value of Lamed, bearing in mind that we are now in the section of the Hebrew alphabet where the numbers go up in tens, they no longer go up in ones. So the numeric value of Lamed is 30. And 30 means the right moment to reign or minister, or the fullness of the divine order. And we all know that Jesus' ministry began at 30. John's ministry began at 30. 30 is considered to be the age, or that you step into your right moment to reign or to minister or something like that, because it's considered to be an age of maturity, not the age of maturity. You'll see what the Jewish sages thought in terms of ages of maturity as we go up in the Hebrew alphabet. I need to keep remembering we go right to left. But it is considered an age of maturity, 30. And then just some of the things that are so amazing about Lamed. So in Ecclesiastes, and not just about the letter, Lamed, but about this whole thing of the Hebrew alphabet, and just what we miss sometimes because we don't know Hebrew and we don't read the Hebrew Bible. We can't read the Hebrew Bible. But so one of the amazing things is in Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1 to 8. So we all know Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1 to 8. It's the chapter in the Bible where it says there is a season, a time appointed for everything. I'm reading this off my cell phone because I have to admit to the most horrific fact, and that is that I left my Bible at home today. So I never go anywhere without my Bible. I feel completely lost, but I rushed out the door and left my Bible behind. So I'm having to read it off my phone. Sorry about that. I want you to just, so we all know what Ecclesiastes says, but let's just read through it very quickly. There is a season, a time appointed for everything, and a time for every delight and event or purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh. Pay specific attention to this phrase: a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up as lost, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear apart and a time to sew together, a time to keep silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Now, it's an amazing bit of scripture. But if you read it in the Hebrew, each verb, so all of those things in that scripture, so it's like a list of activities, right? A time to do this, a time to do that, a time to this, a time to, it's a list of activities. So it's verbs, right? So if each verb within the Hebrew script begins with lamed, okay, except for mourn and dance. And so the Jewish sages believe that the reasoning behind that is because in all of those other activities, it is all learning times. The only time when you are removed from your learning, when you are not learning, is when you're at a funeral or at a wedding, when you are mourning or when you are dancing. But the rest of the time, you are learning. So every verb in that piece of scripture starts with the El Lamed, learn, teach, heart knowledge. Isn't that incredible? It's just so interesting. Then another incredible fact, the book of Chronicles ends with Lamed, with the Hebrew letter Lamed. And the Jewish sages again believed that that was because someone who reads and studies the Bible is elevated spiritually. in the same way as the Lamed, the letter Lamed reaches upwards, the same way that people who learn and study scripture are elevated spiritually. So that's why the book of Chronicles ends with the Hebrew letter Lamed. And then lastly, and this is not leastly by any means, Israel. So in Hebrew, it's Yisrael. Yisrael. It begins with a yot, which is the smallest letter of the alphabet, and ends with lamed, which is the tallest letter of the alphabet. And the Jewish people believe that that is the sign of how Israel will be, that she might start off as the smallest and the least of nations, but in the end times, she will be elevated to take her place where she is supposed to be with God, which is just absolutely incredible. And then one more point, which just really struck me in terms of Lamed being the center of the alphabet, being the heart of the alphabet, and pointing us towards the King of Kings, is that the Jewish sages say that the three central letters of the alphabet, which is Kaf, which we did last week, then Lamed, which we're doing this week, and next week we're looking at Mem. So Kaf, Lamed, Mem, can spell Melech, which is king. So in the middle of the Hebrew alphabet, you have three consonants, Kaf, Lamed, and Mem, which can spell Melech, which points to the king. Which, if that doesn't tell you that God is central to the Hebrew alphabet and everything else, then I don't know what else will. It's the most incredible experience to actually learn these things and realize that all of this just points us straight to God. It's absolutely amazing. I hope you find it just as amazing as I do. And I hope you continue to reach out to me and message me and contact me via all the different methods reflected on the screen. And next Tuesday, we will be looking at Mem, which is the 13th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. But I will see you on Thursday for the prophetic teachings, and then I will see you next Tuesday for our next installment of the Hebrew alphabet. So be blessed. Love you lots. Hope you enjoyed that. See you soon. Bye.